Well, hello. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to try recording out in the wind today. A little spontaneous here, so bear with me if the audio sounds a little ass. We'll see. Hope not. I try to at least have a minimalist perspective with my videos, with the audio at least being good, but let's just cut to the chase, right? Because anyone who's watching this, I respect your time. So don't want to give you too much fluff before getting into a topic, but today crossed my mind that I thought was a very powerful thing is how inaction slowly drains your life energy or just is a disservice to yourself that maybe in the moment you don't feel that way, but over time, at least from my personal experience, I'll be 28 and a half soon. I'll be turning 29 in October of this year. And I have very little regrets. I wouldn't say I have no regrets, just ones that aren't constantly on my mind. But for like one thing is learning a language sooner, taking the plunge to be more outspoken with YouTube. Sometimes I get in a lot of inaction with topics. I'm like, oh, are people gonna like this and that? And it really just stemmed from a place of not having a high level of self-reliance, confidence, and self-respect for myself. Because in one way is if I don't feel what I'm putting out there will resonate with someone and I'm looking more for something external, then why am I even uploading the first part? And that's why I took a 6-month break, because that was constantly on my mind of just, is this going to stick or da-da-da. It just got really mental and really retarded, honestly, with how I was viewing things, because it just wasn't logical and was my own worst enemy. So I'm hoping anyone who's watching this is, the wind's picking up. So I'm really hoping that the camera just doesn't fall over. But I was hoping it would be gone by now, but it is what it is. You just let it ride and see what's going to happen. But yeah, I've been talking with one of my friends lately who also is into content creation. If you're watching this, you know who you are. Been very helpful in more ways than I can express right now of just how I view content creation and philosophy lately. So appreciate you for that. Some inspiration in this video, because a lot of people, you may be thinking about certain things, which is great. I think that's a good starting point. But if there's no action, you're basically procrastinating it, as I like to say. I don't know if that's an actual word, but you're letting the days fly by, and before you know it, time has passed, and you're like, I'm still at square one. And that's not a good feeling. I've been there plenty of times, and I hope in the future it's not as much, but I'd be lying to myself if some things I've been procrastinating, which are like maybe joining a club, doing something a little more athletic, getting out of the house more. On the weekends, maybe doing something that involves, chatting with people. I think one thing that people don't tell you when you leave college is that besides your work and your close friends, if you're lucky enough to have close friends, it's hard to really have community and where you're seeing people. I think it's like a double-edged sword. I've had really close friends that I call brothers at this point in my life, through elementary school, which is super rare. And I think that's a blessing in itself. But also, I'm an only child, so I feel this is from within, that I need to be really good with interpersonal relationships and talking to people. Because at the end of the day, you really only got yourself with how you spend your time mostly. Not saying in a, it's you against the world thing. I don't believe that anymore. I used to have a chip on my shoulder with that. I'm like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. And it was very stereotypical and kind of lame, honestly. Now when I look back, I'm glad I'm not like that anymore, because when you look at other people like your comrades and instead of enemies, you can get to somewhere pretty profound in life when you're giving more out than taking. Sometimes I've been inherently selfish, and I try not to be like that anymore. I think what I'm like really selfish is with my me time, like solo time. I got a St. Patrick's Day party coming up this Saturday in LA. It takes me about like an hour basically to get there. If it's on a Saturday, it's definitely going to take me an hour. And usually you have to deal with just the bullshit of traffic. So many people drive like assholes. It's horrible. It's like you have no care in the world. Like you don't got a life to lose. Like I ain't trying to die anytime soon, and hopefully the person on the other side of the car ain't trying to do that too, because I would think there's people in their life that hopefully love them. But I digress. That's an event that in the past I'd usually skip, but now I appreciate being invited to those things because it's hard to set that up for the most part. You can kind of look at different things for sure in regards to putting yourself out of your comfort zone, which is a good thing as well. Sometimes people can get a little complacent and then you become your own worst enemy. I even think I lead with this philosophy when I work out because there's some exercises that you may get really comfortable with and then you start to just kind of phone it in. You're doing the same things over and over again, and you have to mix things up to a point where you challenge yourself to do something that you may have not tried in the past and not get caught up in the, well, I really liked this movement, but if I go to this one, it may not work the same. And you get stuck in the what ifs instead of just giving it a go and seeing what happens. A lot of people want an outcome that is favorable, that, okay, if I take this leap of faith here, 80% of the time it's going to hit. And sometimes you just got to try things to see if it works, and if it doesn't, at least you gave it a shot. Because the fact of not doing something will eat you up inside more than doing something and regretting it. I think a lot of people relate to this when it comes to like trying to connect with people, in a romantic sense. Something for me I'm trying to work on is mustering up the courage to approach someone. Because dating apps at this point, through my channel, in the history of it, I've had apps, and now it's just down to Facebook dating. That's it, and even then, it's kind of ho hum. At least it's free. It's not. It's like algorithmic, not incentivized to have a paid subscription because you can't pay for one. So Facebook's already making a lot of money. So I think that's the last good like internet thing. But even then, in 2026, it's like, what are we even doing? I don't really even take it that seriously anymore. And I've noticed through me deleting these apps, I've had more time to read, learn a language. Currently, I'm learning Italian. Last year in April, I started so I can try to communicate with my cousins and know a few words. And before I know it, it's like a year later and still trying to learn a lesson at least a day, maybe giving it 5 to 10, 15 minutes. And it's been incredibly rewarding. But at the time, I used to think like, I'm too old for this. Stupid, right? I'm 28. Why would I be too old for a language? Some people learn in their 30s or 40s. But goes to show, most of us don't really know shit. And that includes me. I just try to give it my best shot, one foot in front of the other, and navigating this thing called life, just like anyone else, right? So, but with Italian, over time, that discipline helps into other aspects of life. The end goal sometimes for the gym was something vain, like, oh, having a nice body and looking good with my shirt off, and it will attract girls, da 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 da. That works for a little. Then, as you get older and things change, you realize it's like, that's not sustaining. You're going to run out of steam, and then you're going to be really asking, like, have I been doing this for something that's inherently not my value of why I started this in the first place? And that could derail you. You could just be like, yep, well, if I'm working out for vain reasons, no point in working out because it's for other people. So now I do it for health, which is cheesy. A lot of people say that, but they don't really mean it. I do. I think it shows in the discipline and through my actions, hopefully, instead of just talking. A lot of people just talk, but nothing. Nothing, no substance, no backbone. It's really pathetic, honestly. And when I encounter those kind of people, they always rub me the wrong way. Because not only you're doing a disservice to yourself, you're being incredibly dishonest and rude to other people's time, which is something we all have a finite amount of and don't know when it runs out. That could be a little morbid, but I think that's the cold hard truth, and you can use that to motivate you, or you can use that to go into despair. I think despair is a strong emotion that I've definitely stared at a couple times in my life, and maybe so in the future, but maybe through resilience and some of the stuff that you go through in life, you keep overcoming an obstacle, and then the call of despair gets weaker and weaker, or at least you feel stronger, actually. Maybe the call of despair is the same, but you build up strength, and through that strength, you can develop into something pretty profound. So take that as you will, because I think giving a new mindset of giving more than I take and trying to provide something of tangible value to someone out there feels good. I don't know if that's like a self-gratifying thing or if it's selfish, but I think it comes from a good place, and intentions are important, because even though something may come off like objectively weird, or I guess maybe subjectively, because everyone can interpret something different, as long as you have good intentions and your actions follow that, I think that's something worth it. Because some people say one thing and they'll do the other. And don't want that to happen to you who's watching this. And, you know, as you join me for this journey on this channel, don't know where it's going to really go, but I like talking about things like this because, in a way, I'm talking to myself to reinforce this, but also comments are nice, good or bad. It's nice to always get a new perspective. You know, who knows? Maybe the volume of comments one day, they become extremely negative, and you know, I think that'll test my foundation then. But for now, it's kind of nice with this very small channel. Just a little diary right now, sharing some food for thought, right? So I think that's basically it of what I had to share today without regurgitating stuff I've already said, or maybe it being a little redundant. So thanks for watching, and daylight savings is officially off in California. So now I can record a video like this at 5 and still have pretty good light, which is nice. Don't like when the days are short. Maybe spoiled here in California, to say the least, but I am grateful for that and for you watching this video. Thank you so much. Peace.